Hey guys! So, obviously this is the least graphic, the least technically designed 10 years later, but today is May the 2nd, 2018, and 10 years ago, the entire MCU was started with Iron Man, which was directed by Jon Favreau, and was written by pretty much almost no one who was later attached to anything that has anything to do with Avengers Infinity War. What's funny enough is one of the executive producers is Luis. I can't pronounce his last name, but he was the director of The Incredible Hulk. He has completely disappeared. There's a lot of things that actually have totally disappeared from the MCU from this movie, particularly. Paramount, Terrence Howard, extremely blatant advertisements. Not saying that they aren't still there, but they were super. Like at one point, there's this Schick Hydro thing or this shaving cream thing that's going on this bus in the land fight scene. It gets like 15, 20 seconds of screen time. It's almost as blatant as Man of Steel. Man of Steel has its own entire thing. And then Jon Favreau. We haven't seen him in a while. Just kind of the very subtleness of this film. This is how you build a universe without actually building it. However, the one thing that Iron Man did have is that it had the comics. So anytime that they were world building, they were also making references to things from the comics like S.H.I.E.L.D. and Arc Technology. So everyone was like, woo! And the fact that they started it with this is definitely one of the better ones. Obviously, it worked out extremely well. John Goodman, sorry, I always think he's John Goodman in this movie for some reason. I think he's in the suit. But, the big Lebowski himself, Jeff Bridges. He's a decent-ish villain in this film. It actually takes a little while before you really see that it's him. And while he goes completely crazy evil at the end, he is one of the better villains, but eventually he would start to peter out. And the other thing, too, is the end goal of this movie is that the 10 rings will have multiple Iron Man suits, and that's the end game. That end game compared to the Infinity War end game, just the technological gap in 10 years is astounding when you actually think about it in terms of the movie's reference to technology. The film still holds up in certain ways. There's still some really decent visuals for 8 years old. Some of them, however, are not. The thing that they've never gotten right over the years is the face in the suit. They've never gotten that. Even in Infinity War, at one point when Bruce Banner's in the Hulk suit, and you can see it in the background, it just looks super fake. There's a little few things that happen in this movie too that I've always found pretty astounding. For instance, when Tony's first flying the Iron Man with the hot rod colors over indiscriminately named Eastern country, the tank guy shoots him out of the sky with a tank round, and then he misses him when he's on the ground. Now, talk about the most luckiest shot of all time with a tank. So I thought that was funny. The humor still holds up. The thing that I always found interesting was when he comes back from after being tortured, he says, "I want an American cheeseburger." And they actually hold on that product placement for quite some time. Not until like 20, 30, like almost when the part where you think it's going to end. That they actually oh yeah, there it is. So yeah, Iron Man is still probably definitely one of the pillars of the MCU. It is obviously the film that got everything started. Jon Favreau was a real cool guy. Like for a guy who had done not that much into superhero films or any sort of like high budget action films, this was definitely a big turnaround. However, he would then turn it around with Iron Man 2. But either way, Iron Man still holds up, in my opinion, after 10 years later. It's probably the best movie that we've done on this entire series so far. Admittedly, there's a few movies that I've missed in the last month, mainly because of work and everything, and just not checking my calendar that well. But yeah, so Iron Man is still a pinnacle movie 10 years later on. It's definitely going to be overshadowed by a much more withstanding, higher quality superhero movie that's going to come in July. But at least to say, I still say Iron Man deserves the credit that it got, and it still deserves the credit now, considering that what this film started is something that even well, like heck, I was 17 when this movie came out. And some kids were 10 and younger. And now it's become a massive franchise. So anyways, guys, that's the latest episode of 10 Years Later. I hope you enjoyed it. Apologies for the lateness. Anyways, that's all for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time.